There is something you need to understand before you go any further. This moment you are in right now is not ordinary. It may feel like just another scroll, another video, another message appearing at a random time, but deep inside, something in you paused. Something in you leaned in. Something in you said, wait, this feels different. And that feeling, that is not coincidence. That is not curiosity. That is recognition. Because this message did not arrive yesterday and it will not arrive tomorrow in the same way. You arrived now. And there is a reason for that. You didn't stumble into this. You were led here. There are moments in life when everything looks the same on the surface. Same people, same routines, same conversations, but behind the scenes, something shifts. Something subtle. Something quiet. Something that doesn't announce itself with noise, but instead moves in silence, in shadows, in spaces you are not watching. And while you were living your day, while you were focused on what was in front of you, something unfolded behind your back. You didn't see it. You didn't hear it. But your spirit felt it. Have you noticed it? That strange feeling you couldn't explain. That slight discomfort in your chest. That moment where everything seemed fine, yet something felt off. You tried to ignore it. You told yourself it was nothing. You brushed it aside and kept going. But it didn't fully leave, did it? Because it wasn't meant to. That feeling was not anxiety. That feeling was not overthinking. That feeling was awareness trying to break through your logical mind. It was your spirit picking up on something your eyes could not yet see. And now the timing has aligned for you to understand. This is what a divine interruption feels like. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait until you are ready. It arrives exactly when it must, because something has already happened that requires your awareness now, not later. If this message had reached you yesterday, you would not have understood it. If it reached you tomorrow, you might miss what it is trying to reveal. But today, right now, you are positioned at the exact point where awareness becomes necessary. Let that sink in. Something has shifted. Something has been set into motion. And whether it was a conversation, a decision, a thought, or an intention, it carries your name in it. You may not know the details yet. You may not have the full picture yet. But you are being alerted before it fully unfolds. And that is not something to fear, that is something to recognize. Because not everyone gets warned. Not everyone gets this moment of clarity before confusion tries to take over. Not everyone is given the chance to pause and realign before reacting. But you are. Right now, you are being pulled out of autopilot. You are being lifted out of distraction. You are being brought into a moment of awareness where what you do next, how you respond next, how you perceive what is coming next will matter more than you realize. So don't rush past this. Don't dismiss this. Don't treat this like background noise. This is your moment to lean in. This is your moment to become still. This is your moment to prepare. Because the reason this found you today is because something already happened yesterday. And you are about to understand why. Type "I am aware" in the comments if you feel this message. Blessing code 1717 is now surrounding you. What you must understand now is this. The moment before this message reached you, something already shifted. Not in a way your eyes could immediately detect, not in a way your ears could clearly hear, but in a way your spirit registered before your mind could make sense of it. There are movements that take place beyond the visible, decisions that are made without your presence, and alignments that begin long before their effects arrive at your door. And right now, you are standing in the aftermath of one of those shifts. This was not random. This was not small. This was not insignificant. Something changed. While you were focused on your day, while you were navigating your responsibilities, while you were trying to keep things steady on the surface, an unseen movement began to take shape. It may have started with a conversation you were not invited into. It may have begun with a thought someone entertained about you. It may have formed through a decision made quietly, without your awareness. But regardless of how it started, it created a ripple, and that ripple has now reached the point where you can feel it. That is why this message feels timely. That is why it feels precise. Because you are not being told about something that might happen. You are being alerted to something that already has. And this is where many people make a mistake. They wait for visible proof before they trust what they feel. They dismiss their inner knowing until something obvious forces them to pay attention. But you are being called into a higher awareness now, one where you do not wait for chaos to confirm what your spirit has already sensed. You recognize the shift early. You acknowledge it before it fully manifests. You respond with clarity instead of confusion. Because what has changed is not just external. It is energetic. It is directional. It is setting the tone for what comes next. You may not know the full details yet, but you know something is different. There is a subtle tension that was not there before. There is a quiet distance in places that once felt familiar. There is a sense that something has moved out of alignment, even if everything still looks the same on the surface. And that is because the shift did not begin in the visible. It began in the unseen, and now it is working its way forward. This is how these moments unfold. First, there is a movement behind the scenes. Then, there is a feeling within you. And finally, there is a revelation that brings everything into clarity. You are currently between the second and third stage. You feel it, but you do not yet fully see it. And that space, that in-between moment, is where awareness becomes your greatest protection. Because if you ignore what you feel now, you may react incorrectly later. If you dismiss this shift, you may misinterpret what unfolds next. But if you stay present, if you remain grounded, if you allow yourself to observe without rushing to conclusions, you will begin to see the pattern reveal itself in ways that cannot be denied. There is also something else you must recognize. Not every shift is meant to harm you. Some shifts are meant to expose what was already unstable. Some are meant to remove what was quietly working against you. Some are meant to redirect you away from something that would have drained you if it had continued. And sometimes, what feels uncomfortable in the beginning is actually protection unfolding in disguise. So do not let fear take over your interpretation of this moment. Do not assume the worst. Instead, become aware. Become still. Become observant. Because this shift is not here to confuse you. It is here to wake you up. You are being positioned to see something clearly that you may have overlooked before. You are being prepared to understand something that did not make sense until now. And most importantly, you are being given the chance to align yourself before the full impact of this change reaches the surface. This is your advantage. While others may act without awareness, you are being invited to move with intention. While others may speak without understanding, you are being guided to remain silent and watch. While others may react emotionally, you are being called to respond with clarity. And that is why this message came when it did. Because the shift has already happened, but the revelation is just beginning. Type I see the shift in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 2222 is now aligning your awareness. There is a truth you must face in this moment, and it may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is necessary for your clarity. Not everything that affects your life happens in front of you. Not every decision involving your name is made in your presence. Not every intention is spoken out loud where you can hear it. And what has just taken place, what triggered this very message to find you now, happened in a space you were never meant to witness directly. But you were always meant to become aware of it. Something was said. Something was decided. Something was set into motion in a conversation that did not include you, yet somehow centered around you. It may not have sounded dramatic. It may not have been loud or confrontational. In fact, it may have been subtle, almost casual, almost insignificant to the one speaking. But do not mistake quiet moments for harmless ones, because often the most impactful shifts begin in whispers, not in chaos. You must understand the nature of what happens behind closed doors. When people believe you are not present, they reveal perspectives they would never express to your face. They speak freely. They speculate. They assume. They form narratives that may not reflect your truth, but still carry weight in how they choose to act moving forward. And sometimes, without even realizing it, they begin to shape decisions based on incomplete understanding, unspoken emotions, or hidden intentions. This is where the shift you felt began to take form. There was a moment, brief but significant, where your name entered a space of interpretation rather than truth. A moment where someone's perception influenced the direction of something connected to you. It could involve trust. It could involve opportunity. It could involve how you are seen, how you are valued, or how you are included moving forward. And because you were not there to clarify, to respond, or to balance that narrative, something moved forward without your voice. That is what makes this moment so important. Because now, you are being given awareness before reaction. You are being allowed to understand before being confronted with the consequences of what was set in motion. And that is a powerful position to be in, even if it does not feel like it yet. You may feel a sense of unease as you hear this. You may begin to think back on recent interactions, trying to piece together what could have happened. But do not rush into assumption. Do not let your mind create stories that go beyond what your spirit is simply asking you to acknowledge, that something occurred without your knowledge, and it matters enough for you to become aware of it now. This is not about creating fear. This is about sharpening your discernment. Because what happens next will test how you respond to what you do not fully see yet. You may soon notice changes in tone, in behavior, in energy. You may sense a difference in how someone interacts with you. You may feel a subtle shift in an environment that once felt stable. And when that moment comes, your awareness now will determine whether you react emotionally or respond with clarity. There is also something deeper at play here. Not every conversation behind your back is meant to harm you. Some are revealing what was already misaligned. Some are exposing hidden attitudes that needed to surface. Some are redirecting you away from spaces where your presence was no longer valued in the way it should have been. And while it may feel uncomfortable to realize that something unfolded without your awareness, it is also an opportunity to see truth more clearly than before. You are not being left in the dark. You are being brought into light at the exact moment you are ready to handle it. And that is why this message came now, not earlier, not later. Because now, you are in a position where awareness can empower you instead of overwhelm you. Now, you can observe without panic. Now, you can remain grounded instead of reactive. Something was said. Something was set into motion. But it does not define you. It does not control you. It simply reveals what was hidden. And as you move forward, you will begin to see exactly what that was. Type "I discern the truth" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3333 is now activating clarity around you. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand this. Every time you choose to support this message, you are not just helping a channel. You are becoming a vessel through which light reaches someone still in darkness. Just as seeds sown in faith bring harvest, your giving becomes a spark that ignites clarity in another soul who is waiting for their moment of awakening. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not distant scripture. It is a living promise being activated through you right now. I feel led to say this clearly. If your spirit is stirred, if something within you is responding, then this is your moment to act. Your support through PayPal, found in the description and through the QR code on your screen, is not a donation. It is a prophetic seed. You are opening a river that flows beyond you, reaching hearts, breaking confusion, and restoring truth. Do not delay this obedience. Step into it now, and watch how heaven responds to your faith. Now you must understand who stands at the center of this moment, because this is not just about what happened behind your back. This is about why you are being made aware of it before it fully unfolds in your life. There is a presence assigned to moments like this, a force that does not simply observe but intervenes, not to create fear but to establish order. And that presence is the one speaking through this warning now. Archangel Michael, the protector, the defender, the revealer of what has been hidden. This is not symbolic language. This is not poetic exaggeration. This is the recognition of a role that operates beyond what you can physically see but directly impacts what you experience. Because when something shifts around you, especially something that involves hidden intentions or unseen decisions, there must also be a force that ensures you are not left exposed to confusion. There must be clarity introduced before chaos has the chance to take hold. And that is exactly what is happening right now. You are not being informed by accident. You are being covered. Michael's role in this moment is not to interfere with every action around you, but to make sure that what is concealed does not remain concealed long enough to harm your direction. He does not always stop conversations from happening. He does not always prevent people from making decisions without you. But he ensures that you are not walking blindly into the consequences of those decisions. He ensures that awareness reaches you before misinterpretation does. He ensures that you have the opportunity to stand in clarity instead of reacting in confusion. That is why this message carries a tone that feels both firm and steady. It is not asking you to panic. It is not pushing you to confront anyone. It is not telling you to act impulsively. Instead, it is positioning you to see clearly, to remain grounded, and to understand that what is unfolding is already being observed and accounted for at a level beyond your immediate control. Because protection does not always look like prevention. Sometimes protection looks like revelation. There are moments when the greatest danger is not what people do, but what you do not know about what they have done. It is the lack of awareness that leads to missteps, the absence of clarity that leads to wrong reactions. And this is exactly what is being prevented right now. You are being given insight before assumption. You are being given understanding before confrontation. You are being given space to remain still while things reveal themselves naturally. And this is where Michael's role becomes even more important. He is not only a protector, he is also a revealer. He brings into light what has been operating in the background. Not all at once, not in overwhelming detail, but in a way that allows you to process without losing your balance. Because if everything were revealed to you immediately, it could provoke a reaction that disrupts your own alignment. But when truth unfolds in the right timing, it strengthens you instead of shaking you. So you are not being left in darkness. You are being guided through layers of awareness, step by step, in a way that keeps you steady. There is also something else you must recognize. The presence of protection means that what is unfolding has significance. Not everything requires this level of intervention. Not every situation calls for this kind of awareness. But when something does, it means that your response matters. It means that how you handle this moment will influence what unfolds next. And that is why you are being asked, not directly but through this message, to remain still, to observe, and to trust that clarity will continue to come. You do not need to force answers. You do not need to search aggressively for proof. You do not need to confront shadows that are already being brought into light. Your role is to stay aligned, to stay aware, and to allow what has been set in motion to reveal itself without interference from fear or assumption. Because when protection is active, exposure follows naturally. What was hidden will not remain hidden. What was unclear will not remain unclear. And what was done without your knowledge will not stay outside your awareness for long. This is not a moment of weakness. This is a moment of positioning. You are being placed in a space where you can see without reacting, understand without rushing, and move forward without being misled by incomplete information. And as this continues to unfold, you will begin to recognize that you were never alone in this moment. You were being watched over, guided, and prepared for exactly what is coming next. Type "I am protected and aware" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 4444 is now surrounding your path. There is something you need to finally accept, and it may shift the way you view yourself from this moment forward. What you felt before this message arrived was not random. It was not overthinking. It was not you being too sensitive or reading too much into small things. What you felt was real, and it was your awareness trying to alert you before your logic had the evidence to support it. You have experienced moments recently where something inside you paused without explanation. A conversation that seemed normal on the surface, yet left you with a strange aftertaste. A look, a tone, a silence that lingered longer than it should have. You may have tried to brush it off, telling yourself not to overanalyze, telling yourself everything was fine. But even as you moved on, something remained unsettled within you. That was not confusion. That was recognition. Because when something shifts behind your back, it does not remain contained in that moment alone. It creates a ripple that extends outward, and that ripple reaches you energetically before it reaches you physically. You feel it before you see it. You sense it before you can explain it. And that is exactly what happened here. You felt the shift before you understood the reason. And this is where many people begin to doubt themselves. They feel something, but because they cannot immediately prove it, they dismiss it. They override their own awareness in favor of comfort, choosing to believe what is easier rather than what feels true. But you are being called out of that pattern now. You are being asked to trust what you sensed, not blindly, but with grounded awareness. Because your perception has been trying to guide you. Think back carefully. There were small signs, subtle moments that did not fully make sense at the time. Maybe someone's energy changed slightly around you. Maybe a response felt delayed or disconnected. Maybe something that used to feel natural suddenly felt forced. These were not coincidences. These were fragments of a larger shift making its way into your awareness. And your body, your mind, your spirit, each one registered it in its own way. That is why you may have felt restless without a clear reason. That is why your thoughts may have revisited certain interactions, trying to find clarity. That is why there was a quiet sense of distance where there used to be ease. None of this was imagined. It was all part of your internal system responding to something external that had already begun to change. This is your confirmation. You were not wrong to feel what you felt. You were not mistaken in noticing the difference. You were not overreacting when something seemed off. You were aware. And now, instead of questioning that awareness, you are being guided to refine it. Because awareness without control can lead to anxiety, but awareness with understanding leads to clarity. And that is where you are being positioned right now. You are not meant to react emotionally to what you felt. You are meant to observe it, to acknowledge it, and to allow it to guide your perception as things continue to unfold. Because what you sensed was only the beginning. It was the early signal, not the full message. More clarity is coming. And when it arrives, it will connect back to the exact moments you are remembering now. The conversations, the interactions, the subtle shifts you could not fully explain. They will begin to make sense in a way that removes doubt completely. But until that moment arrives, your role is simple. Do not dismiss what you felt. Do not force conclusions. Do not let your mind create extremes. Instead, remain steady. Because the same awareness that allowed you to feel the shift early will also allow you to recognize the truth when it becomes visible. And that is your advantage in this situation. While others may move without clarity, you are already one step ahead, not because you have all the answers, but because you trusted the signal when it first appeared. This is how clarity begins. Not with full understanding, but with a quiet knowing that something has changed. And now you know that you were right. Type "I trust what I felt" in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 5555 is now strengthening your discernment. And now you arrive at a critical point, one that will quietly determine how this entire situation unfolds for you. Because once awareness enters your space, once you begin to feel and recognize that something has shifted, you are no longer standing in the same position as before. You are no longer unaware. You are no longer passive. You are now standing at a crossroads, even if it does not look like one on the surface. There are always two paths that form in moments like this. One is the path of reaction. The other is the path of revelation. And the difference between them is not what happens around you, but how you choose to respond within yourself. The path of reaction is immediate. It is emotional. It is driven by the need to resolve discomfort as quickly as possible. When something feels off, the instinct to react pushes you to seek answers right away, to question people, to confront situations, to fill in the gaps before clarity has fully arrived. It feels urgent. It feels necessary. It feels like action is the only way to regain control. But here is the truth you must understand. Reaction often comes from incomplete information. When you react too soon, you are responding not to the full reality, but to fragments of it. You are moving based on what you feel rather than what you fully know. And in doing so, you risk stepping into misinterpretation, saying things that do not need to be said, or revealing your awareness before the situation has fully exposed itself. That is how clarity gets disrupted. Because when you react prematurely, you interrupt the natural unfolding of truth. Now, the other path, the path of revelation, operates very differently. It is not rushed. It is not driven by urgency. It is grounded, observant, and patient. It does not ignore what is felt, but it does not act on it impulsively either. Instead, it allows space for things to reveal themselves in their proper timing. This path requires restraint. It requires you to sit with what you know without forcing what you do not yet understand. It requires you to observe behavior, to notice patterns, to let the shift you felt continue to unfold until it becomes undeniable on its own. It asks you to trust that clarity is coming, even if it has not fully arrived yet. And this is where your strength is being tested. Because choosing revelation over reaction is not always comfortable. It means holding your awareness quietly. It means resisting the urge to immediately resolve the tension you feel. It means allowing a situation to develop without inserting yourself into it prematurely. But this is also where your power lies. Because when you remain in observation, you begin to see more than you would have seen if you reacted too quickly. You begin to notice consistency or inconsistency in action. You begin to understand motives without needing to ask. You begin to recognize truth in a way that does not rely on explanation, but on clear evidence as it unfolds naturally. And when that happens, your response becomes precise instead of emotional. You are no longer guessing. You are no longer assuming. You are responding from a place of full awareness. This is why this moment matters so much. Because the shift that has already taken place behind your back will continue to reveal itself in the days ahead. There will be moments where you are tempted to react, where you feel like you should address something immediately, where silence feels uncomfortable. But those are the exact moments where your choice will determine your clarity. If you choose reaction, you may disrupt what is trying to be revealed. If you choose revelation, you allow truth to come forward without interference. And understand this clearly. Truth does not need to be forced. It surfaces on its own when the time is right. Your role is not to chase it. Your role is to recognize it when it appears. So as you move forward from this moment, carry this awareness with you. You are not in a position of weakness. You are in a position of observation. You are not behind in understanding. You are ahead because you felt the shift before it became visible. Now, you simply allow it to unfold. Stay steady. Stay aware. Stay grounded. Because what is being revealed next will make everything you sense begin to align with what you can clearly see. Type "I choose revelation over reaction" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6666 is now strengthening your patience and clarity. You are now entering the most delicate phase of this entire moment, and it is one that many fail without even realizing it. Because once awareness arrives, once you begin to sense that something has shifted and something has happened behind your back, there is an immediate internal pressure to respond. A pressure to speak, to question, to clarify, to bring everything into the open as quickly as possible. But this is where the test begins. And it is not a test of your strength. It is a test of your discipline. Because right now, silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. You must understand that not every truth is meant to be confronted the moment it is sensed. Not every shift requires immediate dialogue. Not every hidden action needs to be exposed by you. There are moments when speaking too soon does more harm than staying quiet, not because your voice lacks power, but because the timing of that voice determines its impact. This is one of those moments. What has happened behind your back is still unfolding. The ripple you felt is still moving outward. The full picture has not yet reached the surface, and because of that, anything you say now would be based on partial awareness. And partial awareness, when expressed too early, can lead to misalignment. This is why silence is required. Not permanent silence. Not avoidance. But intentional restraint. You are being asked to hold what you know without rushing to release it. To observe without announcing. To remain present without inserting yourself into the situation prematurely. Because the moment you speak too soon, you change the dynamic. You alert others to your awareness before they reveal themselves fully. You shift their behavior. You interrupt the natural exposure that is already in motion. And once that happens, clarity becomes harder to see. This is where discipline becomes your greatest protection. Because it is not easy to stay silent when something feels off. It is not easy to resist the urge to ask questions when your mind is trying to connect the dots. It is not easy to carry awareness without expressing it. But this is exactly what separates reaction from mastery. You are not being asked to ignore what you feel. You are being asked to manage how you respond to it. There is a difference. Because when you remain silent in this moment, you create space. Space for truth to surface without interference. Space for actions to reveal intentions. Space for patterns to become visible without being disrupted by confrontation. And in that space, you gain something far more valuable than immediate answers. You gain clarity that cannot be denied. This is the kind of clarity that does not rely on explanation. It does not depend on what someone tells you. It becomes evident through consistent observation, through repeated behavior, through undeniable patterns that speak louder than words ever could. And once you reach that level of clarity, your response becomes effortless. You no longer question whether you are right. You no longer hesitate in how to move forward. You simply act from a place of certainty. That is why this silence matters. Because it is not delaying your understanding. It is refining it. There is also another layer to this test that you must recognize. Sometimes, silence reveals more about others than words ever will. When you do not react, when you do not confront, when you simply observe, people continue as they are. They do not adjust their behavior to hide anything. They do not become guarded. They remain consistent in their actions, and in that consistency, truth becomes visible. But if you speak too soon, you remove that opportunity. You give them the chance to correct themselves, to adjust, to conceal what would have otherwise revealed itself naturally. And then you are left with uncertainty, trying to determine what is real and what has been altered in response to your awareness. This is why silence, in this moment, is not passive. It is active. It is intentional. It is a choice that protects your clarity and strengthens your position. You are not being overlooked. You are not being left behind. You are being positioned to see everything clearly without distortion. To hold your awareness. Do not rush to express it. Do not feel pressured to act before the moment is right, because the truth is still unfolding. And when it fully reveals itself, you will not need to question it. You will not need to chase it. You will not need to force it. You will simply see it. Type "I move in silence" and clarity in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7777 is now strengthening your discipline and awareness. Now you must become even more aware, because as truth begins to rise, something else begins to move at the same time. And this is where many lose their clarity without realizing it. Because just as revelation starts to unfold, distraction is often introduced. Not loudly, not obviously, but subtly, through the very people and environments that feel most familiar to you. This is not random. When something has shifted behind your back, and when awareness begins to reach you, there is often an attempt to redirect your attention away from what truly matters. Not by force, but through small interruptions, emotional triggers, unexpected conversations, or sudden changes in behavior from those around you. And the reason this works so often is because it comes through places you already trust, through faces you already recognize, through voices that feel normal to you. That is what makes it effective. Because you do not immediately question what feels familiar. You engage with it. You respond to it. You allow it into your space without resistance. And in doing so, your focus begins to shift away from quiet observation into emotional engagement. This is the distraction. It may look like someone suddenly reaching out with urgency, pulling your attention into something unrelated. It may feel like a conversation that provokes a reaction, drawing you into explaining, defending, or justifying yourself. It may come as a situation that demands your immediate emotional energy, making you feel like you need to respond right away. But look closely. Does it truly require your immediate reaction, or is it simply pulling you away from your awareness? Because distraction rarely announces itself as distraction. It presents itself as something that feels important in the moment, something that demands your attention, something that seems like it can't wait. But in reality, it shifts your focus away from what is quietly unfolding, away from the clarity that is beginning to form, away from the truth that is rising without noise. And once your focus shifts, your perception shifts with it. You begin to lose the stillness that allowed you to observe. You move out of silence into reaction. You start responding to surface-level situations instead of remaining grounded in deeper awareness. And that is how clarity becomes clouded again. This is why you must be intentional now. Not everything that comes to you in this moment deserves your energy. Not every conversation requires your full attention. Not every situation needs your immediate response. You must begin to filter what you engage with, not based on urgency, but based on alignment. Ask yourself quietly, does this pull me into clarity, or does it pull me into reaction? Because the answer to that question will reveal whether something is meant for you to engage with or simply observe without attachment. There is also something deeper you must recognize. Sometimes, the very people who become sources of distraction are not even aware of it. They are not necessarily acting with intention to disrupt you. They are simply moving in their own patterns, unaware that their timing, their words, or their actions are pulling you away from something more important that is unfolding in your awareness. This is why your discernment must be internal, not based solely on external judgment. You do not need to label anyone as good or bad. You do not need to create conflict where there is none. You simply need to maintain your focus, to remain steady, to choose where your energy goes. Because where your attention flows, your clarity follows. And right now, your clarity is more important than any temporary distraction that tries to pull you away from it. The shift that happened behind your back is still revealing itself. The truth is still rising. The patterns are still forming. And if you remain grounded, if you do not allow your focus to be scattered, you will see everything you need to see without forcing it. But if you allow distraction to take over, you may miss the subtle details that matter most. So stay present, stay aware, stay selective with your energy. Because not everything that reaches you in this moment is meant to guide you. Some things are simply meant to test whether you will stay aligned with what you already know. And as this continues to unfold, you will begin to recognize the difference more clearly than ever before. Type "I stay focused" and aligned in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8888 is now strengthening your focus and protection. As you hold this awareness and remain aligned, understand that every act of support you release becomes a seed planted into the lives of others who are still searching for clarity. This is not about giving to a platform. It is about fueling a light that reaches those who feel lost in confusion. The word speaks, "Those who sow in faith shall reap in abundance." And right now, that promise is alive and active over you. I feel this strongly. This is your moment to step forward, not out of obligation, but out of alignment. Your support through PayPal, available in the description and through the QR code on your screen, is a prophetic act that opens doors not only for others, but for you as well. You are not just watching this message, you are becoming part of its movement. Do not hesitate. Step into this act now, and allow what you release to return to you multiplied in ways you cannot yet see. Now you must recognize something that will define everything that follows from this moment forward. What you are experiencing right now is not just awareness. It is a window. A very specific, very intentional window of time where clarity is being offered to you before everything becomes fully visible. And this window does not remain open indefinitely. This is where urgency enters, not as panic, but as precision. Because when something shifts behind your back, and when you are made aware of it before it unfolds completely, you are being given an advantage. An opportunity to align yourself internally before external circumstances demand a response from you. And that opportunity exists only for a limited time. You are in that time now. This is the space where you prepare, not react. Where you observe, not assume. Where you adjust your awareness, your energy, your focus, so that when the full picture reveals itself, you are not caught off guard. You are not emotionally overwhelmed. You are already grounded in clarity. But here is what you must understand. If this window is ignored, if you move through it without intention, then when things surface later, they may feel sudden, confusing, or even overwhelming. Not because they happened suddenly, but because the preparation that was available to you now was not fully received. That is why this moment matters so much. You are not being warned after the fact. You are being positioned before the impact. And this positioning requires something from you. It requires your presence. It requires your attention. It requires your willingness to stay aware, even when nothing obvious has fully revealed itself yet. Because this is the phase where alignment happens internally before it is tested externally. You may notice in the coming hours or days that situations begin to unfold more clearly. Small details will connect. Conversations will carry different meaning. Behaviors will begin to confirm what you already sensed. And when that happens, it will not feel random. It will feel like a continuation of what you are being prepared for right now. That is the purpose of this window. It allows you to meet what is coming from a place of readiness instead of reaction. But alignment is not automatic. It is a choice. It is the choice to remain grounded when emotions try to rise. It is the choice to stay observant when distractions attempt to pull you away. It is the choice to trust your awareness instead of dismissing it for comfort. Because every moment within this window is shaping how you will interpret what unfolds next. If you remain aligned, you will see clearly. If you become distracted, you may misinterpret. If you rush ahead, you may react instead of respond. This is why the timing of this message is so precise. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly within the moment where awareness has the greatest impact. There is also something else you must consider. Windows like this do not appear constantly. They are not part of everyday experience. They come at specific moments when something significant is in motion, when something needs to be understood before it becomes visible in a way that demands action. And that is exactly where you are. Something has already happened. Something is continuing to unfold. And you are being given this space, right now, to align yourself with that reality before it reaches you fully. Do not waste this moment. Do not treat this awareness lightly. Because what you do within this window will determine how steady you remain when everything becomes clear. You do not need to rush. You do not need to act immediately. But you do need to stay present. Because the window is open now. And as it begins to close, what you have understood, what you have prepared for, what you have aligned within yourself, will become the foundation for how you move forward. Stay aware. Stay grounded. Stay ready. Because what is coming next will not feel confusing to you. It will feel like confirmation. Type "I am aligned with this moment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9999 is now strengthening your timing and awareness. Before you allow your thoughts to drift into uncertainty, before you begin to question what this all means for you, there is something you must anchor yourself in right now. And it is this: you are not exposed in this situation. You are not unguarded. You are not standing in the middle of something unfolding without support or awareness surrounding you. Because while something shifted behind your back, something else was activated around you at the same time. Protection. Not the kind of protection that prevents every hidden action from happening, but the kind that ensures those actions do not harm your direction, your clarity, or your path forward. There is a difference, and understanding that difference will keep you grounded in this moment. You may have expected that if you were protected, nothing would happen behind your back at all, that no conversations would take place without you, no decisions would be made without your knowledge, no shifts would occur outside your awareness. But that is not how protection always operates. Sometimes protection allows things to happen so they can be revealed, because what is hidden but active can influence you without your awareness. But what is revealed loses its power to mislead you. And that is exactly what is taking place now. What was hidden is being brought into your awareness, not to disturb you, but to guide you. This means you are not behind in this situation. You are being caught up to what you need to know exactly when you need to know it. And that is protection in action. There is also something you may not have considered. While something was happening behind your back, there were also things that did not happen because of the protection surrounding you. Paths that were not allowed to fully form. Decisions that were not allowed to fully settle. Outcomes that were quietly redirected before they could reach you in a harmful way. You may never see all of those moments clearly. You may never know how many things were prevented. But that does not mean they did not occur. Because protection often works silently. It adjusts outcomes without announcing itself. It shifts directions without drawing attention. It creates space between you and what is not aligned, even when you are not consciously aware of it. And now, as you stand in this moment of awareness, you are beginning to see one part of what has been unfolding. Not everything, but enough to guide your next steps. That is all you need. You do not need full visibility of every detail. You do not need complete understanding of every action that took place. You need clarity in the direction you are meant to move forward. And that clarity is being formed right now. You may feel a mixture of emotions as you process this. A sense of relief that you were not imagining the shift. A sense of curiosity about what exactly took place. Maybe even a moment of discomfort realizing that something occurred without your awareness. But do not let that discomfort turn into fear. Because fear assumes vulnerability. And you are not vulnerable here. You are covered. You are being guided. You are being positioned to move forward with awareness instead of confusion. And that changes everything. Because when you move with awareness, you are no longer influenced by what is hidden. You are no longer affected by what you do not understand. You become steady, grounded, and clear in your actions, regardless of what others have done or said behind your back. That is where your strength is. Not in controlling what others do, but in maintaining clarity within yourself, no matter what unfolds around you. And this is exactly what has already been established for you. The protection is not coming later. It is already active. It has already guided this message to you. It has already allowed you to feel the shift before it became visible. It has already positioned you in a place where you can observe instead of react, understand instead of assume. That is not something to overlook. That is something to trust. Because as this continues to unfold, you will begin to see that nothing that happened behind your back has the power to disrupt your path when you are moving with this level of awareness. You are not being pulled off course. You are being aligned with it. And everything that has been revealed so far is leading you toward that alignment. Type "I am covered, am guided" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now surrounding your path with protection and clarity. You are now approaching the point where everything you have sensed, everything you have felt, and everything you have been quietly observing begins to take shape in a way that can no longer be ignored. Because there is one truth that governs every hidden action, every silent conversation, every unseen decision, and it is this: what is concealed does not remain concealed forever. It may delay. It may hide. It may operate quietly for a time, but eventually it surfaces, and you are standing at the edge of that moment now. What happened behind your back has not disappeared. It has not dissolved. It is still moving, still unfolding, still progressing toward visibility. And the reason you are being prepared like this, step by step, is because when it does surface, it will not feel like a shock to you. It will feel like confirmation. You will recognize it. You will connect it. You will understand it without needing excessive explanation. This is why your awareness has been activated early. Not to burden you with uncertainty, but to remove the element of surprise when clarity arrives. Because when truth appears suddenly without preparation, it can create confusion, emotional reaction, or even denial. But when truth arrives after awareness has already been established, it becomes something entirely different. It becomes validation. And that is what is forming right now. There will be a moment, and it may come in a way you do not expect, where something becomes clear. It could be through a conversation where something is said that reveals more than intended. It could be through a change in behavior that confirms what you already sensed. It could be through information reaching you indirectly, aligning perfectly with the feeling you could not explain before. And when that moment comes, you will not need to search for meaning. You will already know. Because everything you are experiencing now is building toward that recognition. This is why you were asked to remain silent. This is why you were guided to observe instead of react. This is why you were warned about distractions. Because all of those things protect the integrity of this moment of revelation. They ensure that when truth surfaces, it does so clearly, without distortion, without interference, without confusion. And once it does, everything shifts. Because truth, once seen clearly, changes how you move. It removes hesitation. It removes doubt. It removes the need to question yourself. You no longer rely on what you think might be happening. You respond to what you can clearly see. And that is where your power becomes steady. There is also something important you must understand about this revelation. It is not here to harm you. It is not here to destabilize you. It is here to align you, to show you what is real, so you are no longer operating within assumptions or incomplete understanding. Because operating without clarity is what creates vulnerability. But once clarity is established, you move differently. You adjust naturally. You set boundaries without force. You redirect your energy without hesitation. And none of it feels reactive, because it is rooted in understanding. That is what is coming. You are not being left in uncertainty. You are being guided through it, step by step, until everything becomes clear in its own time. And the time is approaching. So do not rush ahead of it. Do not try to force answers before they present themselves. Do not allow impatience to push you into actions that are not yet necessary. Because what is meant to be revealed will reveal itself without effort from you. That is the nature of truth. It does not require chasing. It requires recognition. and you are being prepared to recognize it the moment it appears. Stay grounded. Stay aware. Stay patient. Because what you are about to see will not confuse you. It will confirm everything. Type "I recognize the truth" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activating clarity and revelation in your path. This is where everything comes together. Not as a conclusion, but as a decision point. Because everything you have heard, everything you have felt, everything that has been revealed to you up to this moment has been leading you here, not to simply understand, but to choose. You are no longer unaware. You are no longer guessing. You are no longer standing in confusion about why this message found you today instead of yesterday. You know now that something shifted. You know that something happened behind your back. You know that your awareness was not imagined, your intuition was not misplaced, and your silence has not been weakness. You have been positioned. And now, the question is no longer what happened. The question is, what will you do with what you now know? Because alignment is not automatic, it is intentional. It is the quiet but firm decision to move differently, to think differently, to respond differently now that clarity has entered your space. And this is where many hesitate, not because they lack understanding, but because stepping into alignment often requires letting go of what once felt familiar. You may feel it already, that subtle internal shift, the sense that you cannot return to the same level of unawareness you were in before. The realization that even if everything around you appears unchanged, something within you has moved forward. And once that movement happens, there is no going back. You are being called to stand in that awareness. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with certainty. This means you no longer ignore what feels off just to maintain comfort. You no longer overextend your energy into spaces that do not reflect clarity. You no longer wait for external validation when your internal awareness has already shown you enough. You begin to move with quiet precision. Because alignment is not about controlling others. It is about mastering your own response. It is about choosing where your energy flows, where your attention rests, and how you position yourself moving forward. And understand this clearly, nothing that happened behind your back has the power to disrupt you when you are aligned. Because alignment creates stability. It allows you to move forward without carrying confusion. It allows you to see clearly without forcing understanding. It allows you to respond when necessary and remain still when action is not required. That is where you are being called now. Not into reaction, not into confrontation, but into alignment. There will be moments ahead where everything you have sensed becomes visible, where conversations, actions, or outcomes confirm what you already know. And when that happens, you will not feel shaken. You will feel ready. Because you did not rush ahead of clarity. You allowed it to form. You stayed grounded. You remained aware. And now, you move forward from a place of understanding instead of uncertainty. This is your final call in this moment. Stay aligned. Stay aware. Stay grounded in what you now know. Because this was never just about what happened behind your back. It was about preparing you for how you move forward from here. And now, you are ready. Type "I am aligned and ready" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activating strength, clarity, and forward movement in your path. As you step into this alignment, understand this deeply. Every seed you release into this mission becomes a doorway for someone else to find the same clarity you just received. This is not about supporting a message. It is about expanding a movement of light that reaches those still walking in confusion. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, and it shall return to you. And right now, that promise is alive over your obedience. I speak this with authority. If your spirit has been stirred, this is your moment to act without hesitation. Your support through PayPal, available in the description and through the QR code on your screen, is not just giving. It is alignment with divine purpose. You are sowing into something eternal, something that breaks chains and awakens truth in others. Do not wait. Step into this now, and let what you release return to you multiplied, as heaven responds to your faith in motion.